MAGA voters are not generally the most stable people. So the death threats are not a surprise. We all expected this. The minute you go against their sincerely held delusions, they will get very angry with you. Jim Jordan, terrible guy, but he's been defeated a third time for House Speaker, which is good because he's a bad guy and we don't like him. More Republicans are turning against Jordan as he shows no signs of dropping out. So this is a little bit old. This is a whole day old, this news. So it's way behind. There, he shows no signs of dropping out. So he's not going to drop out. He lost a third vote and with fewer votes than before. And he's not going to drop out. But don't worry, they dropped him. Good news. Kind of. They dropped him. Yeah, he's definitely winning, Shinseto. Like, the winning just will not stop. It's astonishing GOP ditches Jordan as speaker pick. It was as unexpectedly fast end to the Ohio Conservatives' candidacy to lead the chaos-ridden House GOP. In a shocking turn, Jim Jordan, his full name Gymnasium Rape Apologist Jordan, on Friday lost the internal GOP vote that was intended to show confidence in him remaining as a party's speaker designee. The Ohio Republican is now no longer the party's pick to lead the House, a demise sealed by the GOP's secret ballot just after his third failed floor vote as a speaker hopeful. So they, after his third fail, they went back into the back room. They had a secret vote, and he was no longer the best candidate. They have ditched him. He didn't give up. They just abandoned him. The flailing party is fed up on its 17th day without a speaker. Lawmakers now plan to leave Washington for the weekend, and the next round of ambitious Republicans decide whether to mount their own speaker bids. But most Republicans acknowledge that even with the new faces to consider, they still have no clear path to uniting the splintered conference. Great. They are chaos. See, what had happened was they ran promising to be assholes. They ran as assholes. They ran guaranteeing everyone that ever met them that they would go to Washington and be assholes. So now that they're there, they're acting like assholes. That doesn't get much accomplished. You can imagine. It's very hard to work with assholes, but that's what they've done. This is exactly what they wanted. This is exactly what conservative people wanted. It's exactly what they asked for, and it's exactly what they're getting. If you thought that they were going to go there and do a good job, they tricked you. I don't know how you tricked yourself, maybe. You played yourself a little bit. I'm not entirely sure how you could see these people campaigning, pay attention to them, hear what they had to say, and then think it was good and think it's going to lead to better governance. It's just going to lead to dysfunction. It's just going to lead to chaos. They campaigned on chaos. They promised chaos. And here it is. Imagine not knowing this was coming. I knew this was coming. According to McCarthy, I'm concerned about where we go from here. It's astonishing to me, and we are in a very bad position as a party. Yeah, but that's exactly what you promised us, Mr. McCarthy. It's what you promised us. It's what you guaranteed us. It's what you court. It's what you ask for. It's what you want. It's what you go on TV trying to get. Jordan is out as speaker candidate in secret ballot after top ally warned death threats will continue. Republicans voted against keeping Jordan as a speaker designee, so they'll start from scratch next week. The death threats will continue. You're right, Shinseto. They kicked out the last speaker who did a government. Excellent point. Even if Jim got elected, he would not do a government, and then they might keep him. It's very strange that like 20% of the Republicans in the House are just anti-House, anti-government, anti-everything. And so if you bring them anything, they'll be against it. Only 194 votes. The man is going down. He got 200 and then he got like 198. Now he's down to 194 or something like that. He was moving downward. Typical American fashion, the man with the most votes does not get to win. Republicans held a caucus meeting after the vote where he got 122 to 86. So in this closed-door meeting, he's moving backward. Casting a darkened shadow over the Ohio Republicans' repeated failed bids for the speakership are the mounting number of death threats against Republican holdouts coming from his far-right allies. Republican Ken Buck, we mentioned him last week, became the latest member of Congress to report that he got death threats in connection with the refusal to support Jordan's effort, The Hill reports. Buck, who voted for Tom Emmer in all three ballots this week, told NBC Thursday that his office received 4 death threats out of 20,000 phone calls his team had fielded. He also noticed that he lost office space over his stance. Petty office drama. They kick him out of his office. You don't get to sit in this space anymore. You have to sit downstairs. I've been evicted from my office in Colorado. I have notice of an eviction because the landlord is mad with my voting record on the speaker issue, and everybody in the conference is getting this. Family members have been approached and threatened. All kinds of things are going on. There's going to be some tension. These are the MAGA voters that you wanted. These are the MAGA voters that you have courted. MAGA voters are not generally the most stable people. So the death threats are not a surprise. We all expected this. The minute you go against their sincerely held delusions, they will get very angry with you. They are true believers. They are hardcore believers. And hardcore believers are dangerous. You don't want those. But the Republicans think that they want all the MAGA votes. They just don't want all the MAGA voters. How do you separate the two? Ken Buck there is going to try and separate those two, and I don't think he can. There's no way to separate MAGA votes from the people who cast them. It's a very weird line that Ken Buck has to walk. Several years ago, what you do is you just promise them things, you say the things on the stump, and then you do whatever you want once you get into Washington. But we have far more reporting, far more insight into what they're doing on a very regular basis. Every single day, all of those people in the House are on Twitter. Not going to call it X. They're on Twitter, telling you what they're doing, telling you what they're thinking, telling you what's happening, and we're getting up-to-the-minute updates for House votes, secret votes, backdoor meetings, who said yes in this backdoor meeting. We didn't used to get that. That didn't used to happen. Or if it did happen, it came through a newspaper weeks later. Increase in access to these people has led to up-to-the-date, minute-by-minute updates of their every thought. And that has led the MAGA voters to be very in tune to what they're doing on a daily basis and then threaten their lives tomorrow for the vote they took yesterday. That used to take weeks. And it had to be done by the mail. Back in my day, when we wanted to send death threats to a senator, we had to do it through the mail. You see, we wrote all our angry screeds down on a piece of paper, and we put it in an envelope, and we licked the envelope, and then we hailed the Pony Express man. We said, "Hey, Pony Express man, come here," and then they would ride by and grab your letter, and then 3 weeks later, it would arrive at Washington, D.C. Back in my day, that's what we had to do. We don't have to do that anymore. We can just immediately send them electrons promising their death. Gymnasium rape apologist Jordan forced out as GOP speaker nominee. We need to come together to figure out who our speaker is going to be. Monday, we're going to come back and start over. All right. We're going to try again on Monday. McCarthy said Republicans would have to go back to the drawing board. Kevin Hearn says he intends to run. Dan Mauser. He says he's considering running as the Texas reps Roger Williams and Jody Arrington. I don't know any of these people, but they're probably less miserable and terrible. I'm seriously considering it, says Arlington. My vote has never been about the names. It is about opening the government, said Brian Fitzpatrick, who supported Jordan on the first 2 votes earlier this week, but voted against him on Friday. I'm all in for Patrick McHenry's expanded authority so we can turn the lights back on. So Patrick McHenry is the temporary speaker who doesn't have all the power and authority. So some people are suggesting that we just give the temporary guy more time. Just take that temporary guy, extend his time frame. We'll temp. We'll have a temp agency do it. Patrick McHenry can pretend to be the speaker for the next few months until the next election, and then we can hopefully have better people in the House. I don't think that's a terrible idea. Republicans are bad, and limiting their power is a good idea. So I think that might be fine. Give McHenry half the power and authority that he's supposed to have, and that limits Republican power in the House. I'm okay with that. I think when they do have power, they're dangerous and bad. Maybe let's not give them too much. Oh no. The drama continues. Trump tells allies he doesn't support Tom Emmer's speaker bid. I just mentioned him. The frontrunner for the post is already running into problems. Donald Trump doesn't have to run for speaker himself, since he can just tell them who the speaker ought to be. And 20 to 40 of them will just do whatever he says. Great, super important power that the guy has, because they want his votes, his MAGA votes, but not his MAGA voters. Donald Trump privately conveyed to allies on Friday he does not back Majority Whip Tom Emmer's bid for Speaker. Yeah, you're right, Shinsudo. He's poor guy's lost before the vote even happened, throwing another wrench into the already chaotic process to find the next person to hold the gavel. Trump's conversation come as Emmer has privately expressing his interest in the post. He's been making phone calls and has emerged as an early frontrunner, having received the endorsement of former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. But a sustained offensive from Trump, if one materializes, could spell doom, as any candidate for the job can only afford to lose a handful of votes. So, yeah, Trump is in charge of 20% of the Republican Party, and that is apparently a big enough stake, a big enough shareholder that he can control what happens. And what he wants to happen is not what the other 80% wants to happen, so they just keep clashing and chaos ensues and nobody knows what's going on. It's great. Don't interrupt your enemy when they make a mistake. If somebody is so out of step with where the Republican electorate is, where the MAGA movement is, how can they even be in the conversation? F. Steen said. I don't know who that is. We need a MAGA speaker. See? Exactly. That's what it comes down to, because if you look at the numbers, if you look at the energy, if you look at the heat, this is the Trump party. This is the MAGA party. It's no longer the old school khaki establishment Republican party. And I think he's right. I think the MAGA party is here, and they don't want anything good. They only want dysfunction and chaos. They are the chaos party, and you invited them in the door, Republicans. You brought them in. Oh, hi. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button, press the subscribe button. If you want to tell me how right I am, feel free to leave a comment. If you want to tell me how wrong I am, leave a comment too. That's good. This is just kind of a hobby for me, so I appreciate you coming by, giving it a watch, and pressing the YouTube buttons. Thanks.